10 crazy survival tips. Number 10. Duct tape break. Duct tape is the most common way for criminals to bind their victims. It's cheap, easy to use, and doesn't always look suspicious in someone's car. But criminals aren't always the brightest bulb in the bunch. There's a simple and effective method in order to break this. Normally, your first instinct would be to wiggle your hand and try to break free, but that'll only make it worse, and it won't work. Here's what to do. Raise your hands as high as you can, then swing your arms down, while pulling your wrists apart. Be sure your elbows swing to the side so you don't end up elbowing yourself. The hacking motion is usually enough to snap the duct tape. If your hands are tied from the back, there's really not much you can do. But this will help if your hands are tied from the front. Number 9. Earthquake survival. Thousands of earthquakes happen around the world every day, but a lot of them are too small to feel or cause damage. In many places, earthquakes rarely or never happen since they're not near a fault line. But this is still important in case of traveling. Earthquakes are also very difficult to predict. The first thing you should do is stay where you are until the shaking stops. Drop to your hands and knees so the shaking won't knock you over. Be sure to cover your neck and head to prevent yourself from falling debris. Windows can shatter and objects can fall down. This is also why it's recommendable to get under a sturdy table. Just simple advice like this can prove to be effective in cases of emergency. Planning is essential in places that are vulnerable to earthquake strikes. Number 8. Hurricanes. Hurricanes have been known to completely devastate tropical areas, but with a few survival tips, you may be able to survive these monstrous storms. Strong winds rotate around what's known as the eye and can produce large amounts of heavy rain. It's first recommended that you carefully listen for weather updates and try to find safe zones during the hurricane. If possible, get in a cellar or underground bunker. If you don't have access to such a facility, find a place in the middle of a big room, as far away from windows as possible. Secure your home with storm shutters. Keep your car full of gas in case you're recommended to flee the area. Turn off all your propane tanks to prevent explosions, as well as your electricity. And make sure you're fully stocked with food and water. If the hurricane begins to calm down, you should be in the eye of the storm, so don't leave unless you're instructed to do so. Number 7. How to filter water. No other resource is more important for survival than water. A human can live about a month without food, but only 2 days without fresh water. But not just any water will do. Water in marshes or swamps are teeming with bacteria or harmful algae that can make you severely sick. It's best to find a clear, flowing stream as far away from human pollution as possible. Stagnant water from lakes and rivers are not a good source of water and are typically polluted. The best and one of the most simplest ways to purify water is to boil it. Boil the water for at least 5 to 20 minutes. You can also buy purification tablets in drops and store them in case of an emergency. You can even use solar power if needed. Fill a plastic bottle with no labels and let it sit in the sun for about 24 hours on a 100% sunny day. The UV rays will kill off any microorganisms. Number 6. What not to eat. While trying to survive in a forest, it's better to be safe than sorry. This means avoiding certain plants. Toxic plants have similar characteristics. Plants with thorns don't look too appetizing to begin with, so it's best just to avoid them for the most part. However, cactuses can be useful in some situations. We'll get to more on this later. Avoid 3-leaf growth patterns like poison ivy, poison oak, and poison sumac. Anything with a bitter or soapy taste, spit out immediately. And also, any plant with a milky or strange colored sap. If you see any plant that looks like this, don't eat it. It's the castor oil plant that contains ricin, which is extremely deadly. Number 5. Wildcat attack. While you most likely have a better chance of getting struck by lightning than getting attacked by a tiger, it never hurts to be prepared. With lions, you want to make direct eye contact and let them know you're watching them. Lions will prepare themselves for a hunt by making 2 mock charges and then a full-on attack. The mock attack gives you a chance to defend yourself. Throw your arms up and make as much noise as possible. Your courage may make them change their minds. Leopards are a little bit different though. You never want to make direct eye contact. Stand very still. They won't participate in mock attacks, so you only get 1 chance. You can't outrun a leopard, but you may be able to frighten it with a loud, frightening bellow. This guy probably has the best idea and just took off in his car. Number 4. Bear attacks. Bear attacks are still rare, but encountering a bear is much higher than the possibility of a shark in North America. Most species of bears don't attack humans aggressively, except a wild grizzly bear, of course. First of all, when you see a bear, don't think that climbing a tree is going to help you. Bears are excellent climbers. And don't even think about running either. They can outrun any human on any given day. You're the one who needs to appear threatening. Raise your arms and make yourself look as big as possible. Then slowly back away. If they continue to follow you, begin to make as much noise as possible, and this should scare them away. Grizzly attacks, however, you're going to need to get yourself a can of bear mace. Number 3. Shark attack. Although shark attacks are quite rare, they are extremely devastating, especially to those who are unlucky enough to have a close encounter with one. Sharks generally approach out of curiosity, or if it thinks you're a seal. So first off, take off your seal suit, and don't panic too much, or it might think you're an easy target. They generally aren't fond of the taste of human flesh, but if it does decide to attack you, you'll have one trick up your sleeve. The weakest part of the shark's body is its nose. Your best bet in defending yourself is by giving it a strong blow to the nose. Keep in mind that only 4 great white sharks happen every year. Number 2. Desert survival. Although being stranded in any place would be difficult, being trapped in the desert is probably the last place where you want to be if that happens. Your first and foremost need is going to be water. Plants in the desert need very little water to survive, but that doesn't mean there isn't water. Look for any green-leaved plant. They'll most likely have a water spring nearby, and you can dig under the roots. There'll actually be more water here than you might think. Don't drink the cactus water. Getting the water from a cactus won't work, and you'll just end up covered in thorns and end up vomiting. The only cactus you can drink water from is the barrel cactus, called a fishhook barrel. But only 5 varieties will be effective, and good luck finding one. You can eat the fruit from what's known as the prickly pear, for example, but it won't replace too much lost water. Your best method is to hope search and rescue finds you by making a fire. How to make a fire, you ask? Good question. And number 1, cell phone fire. Fire is essential for survival. It's what you need to boil water for purification, cook food, and keep warm. Your cell phone is completely broken, and technology serves you no purpose when you have no Wi-Fi. Your basic needs become a priority, and you really want to do this only if your phone is busted. You can start a fire using your cell phone battery, and here's how. Find some dry, flammable plants. Then take your knife and remove the terminals located at the tip of the battery. This short circuits the battery, creating heat and sparks. You then cut into the center of the battery, exposing lithium to oxygen, which will create a more intense heat and spark. Have the tinder plant material ready and hold it over the battery as the fumes begin to release intensely. And just like that, your phone becomes a useful tool, even when it's broken. Any suggestions on future videos? Leave us your idea in the comments section, and maybe we'll feature it in an upcoming video.